The night of December 20th, 2010, was filled with the thunderous roar of an enormous 8-ton truck as it sped down the road. This mighty vehicle, driven by Marcelo, had embarked on a journey along the north-south highway. Meanwhile, Tyler, a young man of 21, found himself drifting into a deep slumber while seated in the passenger side. His head rested against the chair, swaying gently to the rhythm of the lorry's movements. Despite occasional flinches, Tyler's sleep persisted, undisturbed by the truck's relentless speed. The road stretched out before them, and the truck continued its powerful roar. Suddenly, at kilometer 158 of the north-south highway, the truck's body tilted, causing the tires to grip the road with a screeching sound. "Shred it! Dumb!" The noise jolted Tyler awake, his senses immediately overwhelmed by a wave of sickness. Every inch of his body throbbed with pain, as if his joints were on the verge of being torn apart. His chest felt as though it might burst from the impact of colliding with the dashboard. In a daze, Tyler reached up to his forehead, only to be met with searing heat. A warm liquid trickled down his face, causing him immense discomfort. His trembling hand discovered a torn patch of skin on the edge of his forehead, evidence of a brutal collision. The liquid staining his fingers confirmed his worst fear: blood. As Tyler surveyed his surroundings, he realized he was still inside the truck, but everything was in disarray. The lorry had overturned, and the shattered windshield bore witness to the chaos that had unfolded. With a mix of confusion and pain, Tyler turned his gaze to the right, eager to assess the extent of the wreckage. Marcelo, Tyler's driver friend, lay motionless in the left of the lorry, his body drenched in blood. The scene inside the truck was a horrifying mess, with blood splatters and shattered glass scattered haphazardly. Tyler, panic-stricken, desperately tried to call out to Marcelo, but his voice seemed to be trapped, as if there were shards of glass lodged in his throat. Uncertainty gripped Tyler as he wondered whether Marcelo was still alive or if he had succumbed to his injuries. Despite the fear and chaos surrounding him, Tyler knew he had to find a way to escape from the truck. However, his left leg was trapped in the narrow gap between the seats, making it excruciatingly difficult for him to move. Struggling against the pain and the confines of the wreckage, Tyler summoned every ounce of strength he had left. With a surge of determination, he managed to lift his body slightly, only to be met with a sight that would haunt him forever. His left stomach had been torn open, exposing a gruesome scene of his intestines and stomach scattered messily. The pain, surprisingly, was not as intense as he had anticipated, perhaps due to the shock coursing through his body. Refusing to succumb to despair, Tyler focused on freeing his trapped leg. With trembling hands, he clutched his exposed organs, desperately trying to ignore the nauseating sensation. Summoning every ounce of willpower, he finally managed to free his leg and began crawling towards the shattered windshield. Each movement was agonizing, but Tyler was driven by an indomitable spirit to survive. Finally reaching the broken windshield, Tyler collapsed onto the ground, his body weak and battered. He lay there, still clutching his spilled guts, feeling utterly helpless and alone. The desire to scream for assistance overwhelmed him, but his voice remained silent, trapped within his paralyzed body. Only his half-open eyes, filled with a mixture of pain and desperation, watched the passing cars on the roadside, silently pleading for help. In that moment of despair, Tyler's thoughts turned to his parents. He desperately longed for a chance to apologize to them, to make amends before his life slipped away. With his body growing weaker by the second, he silently pleaded to God for a miracle, for an opportunity to seek forgiveness and find solace in his final moments. In just a matter of minutes, the place became packed with a crowd of people. However, the atmosphere quickly turned grim as Tyler lay on the ground, his hands desperately clutching his disemboweled stomach. Faintly, he heard someone urging him not to close his eyes, but despite his efforts, his eyelids slowly shut, rendering him unconscious. Rushed to the hospital, Tyler didn't have to wait long before the doctor swiftly began a 5-hour operation to restore his intestines and stomach to their rightful place, carefully stitching up his torn forehead. The doctors grimly informed everyone that Tyler's condition was critical, and the success rate of the surgery was only 50-50. Thankfully, His intestines were still intact, albeit scratched, which the doctor believed was due to Tyler's own efforts to protect them. The injuries he sustained were far from minor, with his stomach being split horizontally for nearly 30 centimeters. Tyler was left wondering what had caused such a devastating injury. Was it the sharp edges of the chairs, the carelessly closed doors, or perhaps shattered glass? It wasn't until he woke up from the surgery that Tyler finally learned the truth. The accident occurred when the truck he was in overturned, but he still couldn't comprehend what had sliced his stomach open. The tragedy was compounded by the loss of his colleague, Marcelo, who tragically succumbed to his injuries at the scene. To this day, Tyler remains haunted by the unanswered question of how the accident unfolded. At the time, Tyler was employed at an ice cream factory, and he and Marcelo, his friend in his 40s, were entrusted with delivering a customer's ice cream stock. Prior to setting off, they had shared a meal together at a restaurant. As the incident occurred, Tyler was asleep in the driver's seat, unable to recall anything beyond the sudden screech of brakes and the deafening crash that followed, causing the truck to overturn. From the very beginning, I can vividly recall the accident occurring, seemingly as a result of a collision between our truck and another vehicle. The sound of screeching tires and the impact of metal against metal echoed in my ears. However, it turned out that our truck hadn't collided with anything at all. It baffles me how one can end up in an accident without any apparent cause, as if fate itself had intervened. I remain uncertain about what the driver was attempting to avoid, if anything at all. All I know is that after the accident, someone informed me that the road we were on is haunted road, with numerous accidents having taken place there before. It was a winding path surrounded by dense forests and steep cliffs, a place where danger seemed to lurk at every turn. Perhaps it was the combination of the road's notorious history and the driver's instinctive reaction that led to the accident. The aftermath of the accident had a profound impact on Tyler's well-being. His once robust immune system weakened, leaving him vulnerable to diseases that he had never before encountered. The physical toll was evident as well. His left shoulder bone had dislocated, rendering him unable to lift heavy objects, a constant reminder of the accident's lasting effects. Furthermore, his spleen had to be surgically removed due to rupture, forever altering his body's ability to filter and fight infections. As a result of these health complications, Tyler was forced to cease working. The accident had not only taken a toll on his physical health, but also on his mental state. Since then, he has developed a fear of riding in trucks, a fear that grips him whenever he sees a lorry on the road. It's as if the sight of such a vehicle triggers a vivid image in his mind, a haunting reminder of the accident and the horrifying sight of its contents spilling out onto the road. Interestingly, Tyler only discovered that someone had captured a photo of him with his distended intestines on the day of the incident. It was a shocking revelation, a visual representation of the severity of his injuries. Following the surgery, and Tyler's awakening a few days later, an ambulance driver visited him and apologized, admitting to having taken the photo. It was a strange mix of emotions for Tyler, a mix of anger and curiosity. When I learned about this, Tyler expressed his desire to obtain a copy of the picture as a memento, a reminder of his resilience and the fragility of life. In truth, if anyone were to see the image of Tyler with his stomach split open and his intestines protruding, they would never believe that this man could still be alive. Even the doctor who treated him didn't hold much hope. Yet, Tyler embraced his recovery and took exceptional care of his gut, allowing him to witness the beauty of this world once again. We appreciate your viewership and hope you enjoyed today's video. To stay updated with similar content, we encourage you to subscribe and activate the notification bell. If you have any personal experiences related to the video, we would love to hear from you. Join us on this thrilling journey as we delve into the world of horror stories.